Hello again. It's Luke, the Hard Times guy. I'm taking this opportunity for, I hope, what's another not too long a video. Not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to take off and we'll see where it goes. And the reason I'm doing it right now is because I'm having a yard sale this weekend, or a barn sale, I like to call them, where you get to come out and hang out with me here in my, some people call this a man cave. I call it Sojourner's Retreat. My wife calls it the room. The 40 by 40 pole barn, you're looking at the wall of it behind me, that was originally here, is attached to a 40 by 36 addition that I put on, and my wife refers to this as the room and that is the barn. But at any rate, here I am going to have a barn sale. We can come and look around. Most everything in here is for sale. There's a few things that have sentimental attachment and family connections that you couldn't buy for any amount of money, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in here for sale, and the barn's just chock full of it. Over here, it's most of it's all finished and ready to go. Over there, some of it's like that, but a lot of it's kind of in the rough over there. Needs your love and attention. Not necessarily a project, but some of it might need to be cleaned up or straightened around a little bit, or maybe painted or varnished, or just scrubbed. A little love and attention. A lot of things over there could be repurposed into something else. This coming weekend, from 9 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon, for 2 days, I'm going to have this building and that building and other outbuildings open for the public to come and see things and visit with me and hopefully buy a little something. I got up yesterday morning and I decided to put some things on what we have. We have a local, we have several of them. I don't know what they all are. In fact, I don't even know which one I put it on, or maybe I put it on all of them through some kind of a joint thing that does that. But it's a way to sell things. I think maybe it's Facebook Marketplace might be the technical name for it. I don't know. I'm not very technically astute. You probably gathered that from watching my videos. But at any rate, I had a fuel tank up on a metal stand that I'd had for quite a while. I bought it at auction, of course. I had intended to use it for something, and that never panned out, and it was standing out there in the yard, and I decided to sell it, and I listed it on that forum to list things like that. I no sooner got it on there, and my phone just blew up. Actually, my wife's phone. The Facebook Messenger and stuff like that's all geared to her phone, so her phone started blowing up, and it was aggravating her. She don't like for my business to overwhelm her on her phone, and she doesn't like to, her phone started blowing up. And as people want to buy this fuel tank, and I probably underpriced it for what it was, but I mean, who knew? I got way more for it than I give for it. I got what I wanted. I got some money to spend, and I got rid of that fuel tank. But I called the first guy, and he was from about, I don't know, 70 miles from here, and he wanted me to hold it for him, and of course I couldn't. There's a life lesson here. I don't know how many of you ever done this, but you got something for sale, say. First guy shows up, says, I want that. Can't pay you right now, but I'll be back with the money at 6 o'clock. Or he calls you on the phone. He says, I'm at work. I can't get there until such and such a time. But I'll be there. If you promise to sell it to me, I want it. Or Yeah, that's a good car. I got to go see my brother-in-law about some money he owes me. I'll be back tomorrow. I promise. First thing in the morning, pick it up and pay you. That kind of a thing. Where you got somebody's promise that they're going to buy something, and it's for sale, and they want you to commit to not sell it till they get back with the money. You've all been in that situation. I was in that situation yesterday with the very first caller. He wanted that thing. He was wanting to come from clear down on the Ohio River in Perry County, and he wanted me to hold on to that until 6:30, and he'd be here with the money. I said, sir, I can't do that. You're the first. I got 6 calls behind you that I got to respond to, and you're the first one. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell every one of them. The first person here with the money is the person that's going to buy this fuel tank. That's the long and the short of it. What eventually happened was one of those callers got here with the money when he said he would, and no one else had got here with the money yet, so I met him here, and he bought it. But he had a young fella with him too. Brought somebody along to help him load it on the trailer. I said, while you're here, you might as well look around. I'm going to have a yard sale here this weekend. There's probably some stuff in that barn there. Dender's cheap. He said, I was going to ask you about that when we got that trailer loaded. He said, we've been looking for some chairs. My young friend here, he's been looking for some wooden chairs. You got any of those? And of course, I only had about 50 or 60 of them. So I said, yeah, there's some of them in the barn. There's some of them in that building over there. I even got some in the house I'd probably sell. So they went in the barn, looked around. It's 2 hours. They was here 2 hours, a little over 2 hours before they got loaded. Got done looking around in the barn. Well, the young guys, he didn't have his billfold with him. He called over from where he lived, had his partner bring him his billfold because he found some things he wanted to buy, and they spent 4, 5, 6 times the amount of money before they got out of here than they intended to spend when they first came to get their fuel tank. And one of the things that they said while I was here was, this is the best place we have ever found for coming and finding this kind of stuff. And they just went on and on and on about what was here and about the people in their family who would have to come here and look at this. And I told them, you guys are in luck. I'm going to have a yard sale this weekend. So that's the kind of place we got. And that's the kind of experience that I hope all of you can have. I hope you can just come here, find something that you like. We'll arrive at some agreement about what it's worth, and you can take it home with you, and you'll be happy, and I'll be happy. That little plug took probably a lot longer than it should have, but okay. That's the reason I made the video. Now I'm just going to kind of sojourn a little bit. I was going to an auction today, my intention, and I got up this morning, had some coffee, was running a little bit late, and when I headed out the door to get my truck, one of my friends, in fact it was Ray Bob, one of the twins, he come pulling in the driveway, and he was wanting to come up here and look around, and see he was looking for something to buy, and he hadn't been here in a while, hadn't bought anything from me in quite a little while. He had some stuff to sell too, trying to get me to go to his place and buy something, but we had a conflict there and I couldn't go, and I told him I was getting ready to go to an auction. But he hung around here for a while, and he spent a little money too. Then I went to the auction, got down there about 2 hours later, and I intended to, but there wasn't a daggone thing hardly there that I wanted. They had some nice things. They had some keen cutter tools, lots of pretty good keen cutter marked hatchets and a broad axe or two and some things like that. But I'm not big on keen cutter. I mean, things like keen cutter in cast iron, Wagner, and Griswold. All those things that everybody recognizes as being something really good, and they all want. He said, when you have that kind of a thing at an auction, everybody there came to buy that. And you can't buy any of it. You sure can't buy none of it where you could turn around and sell it again. So other than those few things, there wasn't anything there I wanted, and I hung around for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and seen that I wasn't going to be able to buy a thing. So I left and come home. So it's good that Ray Bob come out here, and I spent 2 hours with him. Otherwise, I'd have just spent 4 hours at an unproductive auction instead of 2 hours. So, I've been running good. I've been running good lately. Kind of happy about that. I decided to make this little video. I thought I might tell another story, like the short story I told in that last video about my friend Mike Bridwell and him being an agitator. And I was going to tell you one today about Jay Morrison. I think first I got to give you some background, and I hope I don't ramble on with this background like I have so far in this video, but this story, you're not going to get the full magnitude of this story if I don't give you some background. I'm 74 years old, and so life is different now than it was when I was a young man. But some of you people that are as old as me, and so you know how it was when I was a young man, and some of you aren't quite as old as me, and you've seen television shows and movies made about how it was when I was a young man, and some of you aren't even old enough to have seen those things, except for the fact that they're in reruns a lot of times, and so maybe you've seen those kind of things, and so you have a little bit of a feeling for what I'm about to tell you. But when I was a young man, kids did a lot of things different than what they do now. That we didn't have all this electronic stuff, and the world was a different place. But one of the things that we had, and this may still be true, and I just don't understand it because it's done a different way, but there was what I'm going to call a central attraction, or a gathering place, or a location in which your circle of friends and those in your community frequented and interfaced with one another there. If you're old enough to have been a part of this scene, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're old enough to have seen a movie like American Graffiti, or seen a television series called Happy Days, and there were spin-offs from Happy Days, and there were other movies like American Graffiti, but those are probably the two ones that best depict what I'm talking about. But in our community, we had a place called Leonard's Drive-In. And it was a place much like the little restaurant in Happy Days where all the kids congregated. And you got in a typical evening, and especially on weekends, kids got in their cars and they drove down to the drive-in, and they pulled in and sit and parked and visited with one another and watched the cars go around, and got out of their cars and walked around and talked to different people. And it was the central place to be. And we had a place like that. It was called Leonard's. And there was another place called the Hub just down the road from it, and we kind of made a loop from that. And later on they built a place in town called Jerry's, and it became part of the loop. And even on the east side of town there was a place called the Red Barrel, and it too became part of the loop where you went. But the main central place, the key one that everybody frequented, was Leonard's Drive-In. And this story takes place, to begin with, at Leonard's. It was, I'm pretty sure it was a weekend, maybe Friday night. I think it was a Friday night. We were out. It was early enough in the evening. It was summertime, and it was probably 7-ish to 8 o'clock, something like that. I'd say we were on daylight savings time, and it was not yet dark. You could do about anything you wanted, and you could see everybody still because it wasn't dark yet. But it was late enough in the evening that lots of people were out and about, and the flow of things was going. And I was out that evening in my vehicle, and I had some of my friends with me, and I can't tell you who all they were. I could speculate about who was with me. I think there was 4 of us, but I'm not sure who it was except for Jay. Jay Morrison was with me, and he was in the back seat, shotgun side of my car, and we were sitting there taking it all in. And the windows were down, and we were talking and watching, and something then developed. My brother, Curt, he's 2 years younger than me, and he wasn't old enough to have a driver's license yet, but he and some of his friends were out and about, and I don't know, they were with, I guess, maybe with somebody that was driving, or they may have, you know, it wasn't unusual for people to walk down there and be sitting on the inside. A lot of times before I got my driver's license, I'd go to the pool hall downtown, get on a slow-moving freight train there in downtown when it slowed down to go through town, get on it early so that it wasn't going too fast when it got down there where Haverly's was, and then jump off of it over across the highway and walk across to there, or just walk all the way down there from my house. It was the place to be, and that's where you wanted to be. I don't know how Curt got down there, but he was down there, and he got into an altercation with another young fellow about his age. Name was Butch. There was a Butch in that story yesterday. Let me tell you this. It wasn't the same Butch. Different Butch. The Butch in my story about Mike earlier this week, the last video I think I made, he was a year older than me. This Butch was a couple years younger than me. And his real name wasn't Butch either. Actually, his name was Leonard. But unlike the previous story, everybody called this fella Butch. I don't, other than maybe school teachers, I don't know anybody, and most of them called him Butch. They all called him Butch. Hardly anybody called him Leonard. He was a Butch kind of guy. He was active. In fact, he's dead now and gone too. But in his lifetime, he was somebody who got in many altercations. You know, I'm not going to say he's a bully. He wasn't a bully, but he was somebody that was willing to fight at the drop of a hat. And even at this young age, he was someone who frequently got into fights, and he never outgrew that. He never grew into he was a small man. He never grew into a big person, but he never saw anybody that he didn't think he could whip. And unfortunately for him, there weren't very many of them that couldn't whip him when push came to shove. He took some awful beatings over his lifetime. But back when he was 13, 14, 15 years old, his just aggressiveness and willingness to fight made him a pretty key figure, and one that people respected, and for lack of a better way of describing it, a lot of his peers were afraid of him. And he and my brother got into an altercation in the parking lot, at Leonard's, the place where everybody went, the place where all my friends were, the place where you wanted to be seen and you wanted to be heard and you wanted to be popular, and everybody knew what was going on was there. And my brother got into an altercation with Butch right out in the parking lot, right in the middle of the action, and everything stopped, it seemed, and everybody was it was loud and everybody was listening to him, and Butch was threatening my brother and insulting him and belittling him, and my brother was, in my way of thinking, and in what I knew our father's way of thinking was, my brother was not responding appropriately. Let me say that. And finally it ended with him saying, I'm going to lift weights for a period of time, and I think he said 2 years. I'm going to lift weights for 2 years, and then we'll come back and continue this discussion, and maybe I'll do something about what you said. Remember what I said about Jay in the last video? The agitator, the fun-loving. Oh my goodness. He's in the back seat of my car, and he went into his routine. First of all, he laughed hysterically and loudly. He said, "Did you hear that? Have you ever heard such a thing? Hey, hey," and the other people in my car, he didn't say anything directly at me. He was saying it for my benefit, but he didn't say, "Look, did you hear what your little brother just did and said right in front of God and everybody?" He didn't say that, but he was saying it out loud and laughing and gouging and pushing, and he yelled out the window, "Hey guys, did you hear that?" And he laughed again, and he said, "Did you ever hear anything like that? I'm going to lift weights. Wait till I lift weights for 2 years." And he just went on and on. And, you know, went through me like a dose of salt. I jumped out of the car. But my daughter jumped out of the car, and Curt was retreating from the situation. I said, "Whoa, whoa, wait a minute. This ain't happening." I said, "Curt, go get in my car." And I said, "You," and I pointed at Butch. I said, "Oh, Wilson Park, the circle, 5 minutes. We're going to finish this." And of course, everybody, there was a crowd gathered around. Now they all ran for their cars, man. Everybody going to Wilson Park, 5 or 6 blocks away. Local city park, the circle. When you went into park, there was a ball diamond on your left, there was a shelter house on your right. Down over the hill there was a concrete and limestone stage that sat down at the bottom of a big hill in like an amphitheater arrangement. When we were real young, there was a cage over there that had black bears in it next to that stage. But right in the middle of all that was a circular drive that went around. I think there were some stone benches and maybe a bird bath and some flowers in the middle of it, and around the edge between those things and the drive there were some shrubs. And before it's all said and done, those shrubs got to be really tall. You couldn't even see that stuff in the middle. But back in those days, those shrubs were short and not very tall, and they might have even been pruned back in the winter time, and then they grew back up some more. I don't know whether it was what it was. It might have been forsythia. It might have been cedar bush. I don't know what those shrubs were, but shrubs around there. Openings to where you could go in the center, but shrubs. That's where we were going to meet. Everybody headed over there, and they all got there. Most of them got there ahead of us because I took a leisurely, long route. Had some advice to give Curt. I said, Curt, when we get over there, he's going to be standing there running his mouth just like he was here. And I said, don't worry about that. And don't engage in it. You've already said more than you needed to say. I said, when we get there and get out of the car, I want you to walk right up to him. And as soon as you get close enough to him, hit him. Just walk right up to him, hit him right in the mouth as hard as you can. And then we'll see what happens. But I said, don't get involved in talking about what's going to happen. Just do what I said. And Curt, boy, he's getting pumped. The adrenaline's, it's something he didn't want to do. Something that wasn't, but the adrenaline's starting to, he can't avoid it now. He knows that it's going to be whatever could happen to him after what's happened and who it happened in front of, and Morrison agitated it, and knowing what our dad would have thought about the whole thing, there ain't no choice but to get this thing over with. And so Curt, I don't know what he was thinking, but I know how he was thinking because he was wired. And when we got there, everybody else was already there, and there was a crowd gathered around. Butch was standing right against it, right in the middle of that asphalt that went around those circle of hedges. And cars were parked off to the side, and people were standing in the grass. And we got out of the car, and Curt got out of the car. He's in the back seat between Jay Morrison and whoever else was back there. And he got out of that car on almost a dead run. And he went right straight for Butch. And when he got about 10 feet from him, his arms started flailing. And he looked like a windmill going right at Butch. And Butch didn't, things weren't going like Butch thought they were. Gonna go, and he was kind of taken aback by it, and he didn't respond quickly enough. And Curt he came and he hit him 4 or 5 times. I don't think any of the punches that he threw hurt him, but he just kept coming and run right into him. And Butch fell backwards, stumbled, and fell right into those hedges. And Curt then tripped over him and fell right on top of him. And when Curt got up, and he's sitting in the middle of Butch's chest, and Butch can't do a single thing. I mean, he is pinned down in those bushes. They got him where his arms can't move. Curt's sitting on his chest. His arms are out at his side, but they're down in the bushes. They can't move sideways for the bushes, and they can't come up because you just don't have much leverage when your arms are like this. You can't lift 135 or 140 pounds, whatever Curt weighed at that time, with your arms pinned to the side of you like that. And there was a hullabaloo now, and Curt maybe hit him once and it stopped, and everybody was yelling, and Butch couldn't do anything. And the general consensus of the crowd that was already there in the round was, hey, whoa, what happened here? Stop! Let him up. Let's start over. And Curt stopped. He didn't hit him no more. But he didn't get up either. He looked at me. He said, what do I do now? I said, this thing's either over or you just keep hitting him till it is over. And the people said, hey, we got to, this is not right. He can't even move. He's down there in them bushes. I said, hey, if he wants to say that this is over and he has lost and there ain't going to be no more of it, we came, Curt got the best of him, the fight's over. If he wants to say that, then it's over. We'll all get up and we'll go off. But if he don't want to say it's over, then we're going to hit him till it is over. Now, I was telling the whole crowd that. And of course, Butch, he couldn't do nothing. So he said, it's over. I'm over it. And we got up. There was some discussion even at that point about starting it over again. But now they don't have to just contend with Curt. They got to contend, if they do that, they got to contend with me too and some of my friends. And nobody was so inclined, and it was over with. But the whole point of the thing was, if that had just happened any other place besides right next to my car, and maybe even if it had happened there and Jay Morrison wasn't sitting in the back seat of my car, the rest of it would have never happened. But Jay, he just couldn't let something like that go. He knew what a point of contention that was going to be. And he set out to stir the pot, and he stirred it until Curt got in a fight. I think that was the first fight he ever got in. I think it was the last fight he ever got in. Well, this took longer than I intended for it to. I'm a hard times guy. Come around this weekend and visit with me. Maybe you got some stories you'd like to share. Maybe we'll talk about stories. Maybe we'll look at antiques. Maybe who tells what we might do. Might make a video and put some of you in it. Till the next time, have a good day.